Alrighty then, folks. Let's dive into the next batch of examples from our trusty handbook. These examples are designed to sharpen our understanding of ethical standards, so buckle up and pay attention. First up, we have Taylor and Adam. Two analysts who were invited by a publicly traded company to visit their mining facilities out in the Wild West of the USA. The company graciously offered them accommodations at their very own chain of hotels, with the promise to foot the bill. Now, Taylor saw no harm in accepting this sweet deal, while Adam, being the stand-up guy that he is, insisted on paying for his own stay. Now, according to our ethical guidelines, Taylor didn't exactly break any rules by accepting the company's offer. And Adam's self-funded stay only amplifies his commitment to independence and objectivity. Next on the chopping block, we've got our analyst extraordinaire, D. D works at an investment bank, and they're in the midst of wooing some potential clients with a series of roadshows. Now, during these roadshows, D is singing praises of their comprehensive research services. But hold your horses, D. We need to be cautious here. While D's promises of stellar research services don't necessarily violate independence and objectivity, we gotta make sure they're not just doling out one-sided, rosy reports to win some points. Let's tackle our third example. We've got a sharp analyst named Frank over at Hilton Securities, specializing in the mining industry. Now, Frank's analysis suggests that Company A's stock is overvalued. And he believes it deserves a sell rating. But here's the twist, folks. Frank's a bit worried that if he follows through with his assessment in his research report, it might ruffle some feathers and strain the relationship between Hilton Securities and other departments. You see, Frank stumbled upon the fact that Hilton Securities recently underwrote Company A's bonds, meaning there's some business going on between the two. Now, here's the deal, my friends. Frank needs to keep it real and stick to his independence and objectivity as an analyst. No matter the pressures or potential conflicts, he should base his judgment solely on what's fair and square. Alright, folks, fasten your seatbelts, because we've got ourselves another doozy of an example. Brace yourselves for example number 4, directly connected to our previous case. Picture this, our analyst buddy, Frank, has just reached the same conclusion as before: Company A's stock is severely overvalued. But here's the twist, my friends. Frank's got a whole new set of worries this time around. He's concerned that if he actually publishes a research report with negative information, it could jeopardize his good relationship with the company's executives. He's fretting over potential retaliation, like being excluded from important meetings while other analysts get all the juicy details. But wait, there's more. In this case, Frank is also worried about pressure from the other company involved. Now, let's take a step back and revisit what we covered earlier. Pressure can come at you from all angles, folks. As an analyst, it's your duty to maintain that independence and objectivity, no matter the circumstances. If you succumb to the fear and end up producing a report that goes against your true assessment, well, that's a clear violation of the code. My friends. It's as simple as that. So, stay true to your principles, my friend. Keep that analytical compass of yours pointed north and make your judgments based on what's right and fair, regardless of the pressure cooker around you. Don't let fear or external influences cloud your judgment. Stay independent. Alrighty, folks, it's time to dive into example number 5. This one's got a dash of internal control issues, so buckle up and let's get into it. We've got ourselves a credit risk assessment analyst who's all tied up with the company's bond sales department. You heard that right. This analyst's compensation is closely linked to the performance of the bond sales team. Now, hold on a minute, that's a red flag right there. It's a sign that the company's internal controls might be wrong. As a credit risk assessment guru, your paycheck shouldn't be dancing the tango with bond sales, my friend. That kind of setup raises some serious concerns. It means you might have a bias toward giving those bonds a shinier rating to boost sales. That's not a good look, folks. We need independent and objective analysis, not a side dish of skewed judgment. But wait, there's more to this spicy tale. Our analyst mentions that the company holds a great amount of bonds from Company B. Now, Company B recently had a significant operational loss. As an independent and objective credit risk analyst, it's your duty to reflect this situation accurately. However, with your compensation tangled up in bond sales, your report might not be painting the full picture. That's a big no, folks. So, what's the right move in this sticky situation? Well, it's simple, my friends. Stay true to the principles of independence and objectivity. Present the facts as they are, plain and simple. If you find yourself shackled by these constraints, there's another option for you: put that company on a restricted list. Stick to describing the facts without stating your opinions. That way, you'll maintain your integrity and keep those ethical gears turning. Remember, folks, in the wild world of credit risk assessment, independence and objectivity are your best friends. Don't let your paycheck dictate your judgment. Stay true, stay unbiased. Alrighty, folks. It's time to unravel example number 6. Brace yourselves for a wild ride in the world of securities analysis and office politics. So, we've got our analyst, Jay, and his boss in the spotlight. Jay's boss has been tracking a particular company and has been bullish on it, recommending a consistent buy rating. Now, here's where things get interesting. Jay's boss might be up for a promotion, which means he's looking to hand over the company tracking duties to Jay. Now, here's the hitch in this case. Jay's boss tells him, and I mean tells him explicitly, not to change the original rating under any circumstances. That's right, folks. He wants Jay to keep the rosy outlook and continue with that by recommendation. But hold on a minute, that's a direct blow to independence and objectivity, my friends. It completely tramples all over the principles of staying unbiased and objective. And we can't have that, can we? So, listen up, my fellow analysts. Even when faced with pressure from the boss, you've got to hold your ground. Stick to your principles of independence and objectivity. Don't let anyone, not even the boss, dictate your ratings. It's your duty to provide an unbiased assessment, no matter what. Now, let's fasten our seatbelts and get ready for example number 7. In this case, Jay decides to outsource a portion of the commission business to a brokerage firm based in New York City. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. He made that decision while keeping his independence and objectivity intact. No issues there. But here's where the twist comes in, folks. Jay mentions that as a token of appreciation for the business brought in, that brokerage firm showers him with some perks. We're talking World Cup tickets, luxurious hotel stays, fancy cars, and all that jazz. It's a luxurious affair, all right. But here's the deal: if Jay accepts these goodies and fails to disclose that information to his employer, well, that's a breach of the conflict of interest clause in the ethical code. In this situation, my friends, whether Jay discloses the information to the higher-ups or not, he simply cannot accept those perks from the other company. We've mentioned it before, folks. If the gifts are lavish and not tied to exceptional performance or compensation, even if you disclose it to your boss, you still can't accept them. So, in this case, regardless of whether Jay spills the beans to his employer, he must steer clear of those goodies from the other company. Otherwise, he'll be breaking the sacred principles of independence and objectivity. Alright, let's dive into the 8th example. This one is about a guy named Mr. Green, who manages his clients' investment portfolios and consistently delivers higher annual returns than the agreed-upon benchmark. As a reward, his clients give him 2 tickets to the tennis Grand Slam. Now, unlike our previous examples, this gift is purely a token of appreciation for his stellar performance. In this case, as long as Mr. Green discloses the gift to his boss and stakeholders, and obtains written approval from his boss, he's good to go. Now, the prompt may have elaborated on the boss's consent, but regardless, as we discussed earlier, as long as he discloses his actions, he meets the requirements of the ethical guidelines regarding conflicts of interest. So, we can lump these two examples together. Moving on to the ninth example. We encounter the investment manager of the Franklin City Public Pension Fund. He's currently seeking a company to handle the foreign equity allocation for the plan. He goes through the standard procedure of evaluation and ultimately selects a company. At first glance, everything seems fine. However, a journalist calls him up and informs him that their investigation reveals he previously attended a business trip, and one of the sponsors happened to be the same company he selected. The journalist asks if he has any connections with that company. Now, this example sheds light on an important issue. If you fail to clarify and disclose such matters to the public, it creates an impression that you can't wash away easily. Why should others believe that your selection of that company was solely based on independence and objectivity? To avoid violating the conflicts of interest clause, the best practice would be to ensure that all expenses related to that business trip are either covered by yourself or your employer, without accepting any funds from sponsors. And of course, you should disclose this information to the public. That sums up the content of our ninth example. Remember, folks, maintaining independence and objectivity in your actions is crucial in the world of ethics. It might seem like a no-brainer, but these examples serve as a reminder of the challenges we might face and the importance of sticking to our principles. So, stay tuned as we explore more real-life scenarios and dive deeper into the fascinating world of ethical guidelines. Alright, let's jump into the 10th example. So, we have an analyst who quits their job at a big investment bank and gets hired by an investor relations firm to write research reports for a small educational software company. The problem arises with the compensation arrangement. If investors purchase the company's stocks based on their research reports, the analyst will receive a bonus. Now, this kind of compensation scheme can potentially influence the analyst's research reports with personal interests, violating the requirements of independence and objectivity. Research reports should be presented in an objective and independent manner, free from any personal interests. Now, let's move on to the 11th example. A trust manager is approached by an external fund company that wants the bank to distribute their funds and pay a service fee. The trust manager asks an internal investment manager at the bank to evaluate the fund but fails to disclose the matter regarding the service fee. The evaluator conducts a normal investigation and believes that the fund meets the criteria for distribution. However, the problem arises in the subsequent instructions when the trust manager requests the bank's marketing team to exclusively promote this particular fund and block the sales of other funds. This practice violates the requirements of independence and objectivity, as the trust manager prioritizes personal interests by restricting the sales of other funds. Additionally, even if the fund performs poorly after 2 years, the trust manager insists on continuing to sell the fund to keep earning the service fee. This violates the disclosure requirement in conflicts of interest, which states that relevant parties should be promptly informed when potential conflicts of interest arise. Moving on to the 12th example. We have an individual entrusted with conducting credit risk analysis for securitized subprime mortgages. This person utilizes housing price forecasts as a critical parameter in the analysis. Based on their analysis, they believe that housing prices have peaked and will decline, or even face a collapse in the future. They share their viewpoint with the investment manager and recommend against purchasing these subprime mortgages. As it turns out, housing prices plummet the following year, and those who did not purchase these products see good returns. At first glance, it may seem like this person hasn't violated the requirements of independence and objectivity. They provided a reasonable viewpoint based on their professional judgment without succumbing to any external pressure. However, if we delve deeper, we need to consider how they conducted the housing price forecast. If they relied solely on personal subjective speculation or hearsay, they may have violated the requirements of diligence and a reasonable basis. However, based on the description provided, we can't determine the basis of their forecast. It's important to note that this example presents a scenario that emphasizes how different professionals in the financial market can offer their viewpoints based on their expertise, which can be accepted. However, to ensure compliance with ethical standards, financial practitioners should always base their viewpoints and decisions on diligence, objectivity, and a reasonable basis, avoiding reliance on unreliable information or subjective speculation. In the 13th example, we have M, a senior portfolio manager at Company M, who wants to secure a management share of an external pension fund. The decision is to be made by J, the chairman of the pension fund's investment committee. In order to increase their chances of winning the bid, M decides to take the following actions. M decides to make a donation to J, hoping that this gesture will garner J's support and recognition. In addition to the donation, M also decides to treat J and his family to a lavish dinner at a top-tier restaurant to further please J. These actions raise the following issues. 1. Pay to play. M's donation is seen as a form of bribery or bribery attempt, trying to exchange money for favors, also known as pay to play. This violates the principles of integrity and professional conduct in ethical guidelines. 2. Conflict of interest. As the chairman of the investment committee, J is expected to make decisions independently and objectively to protect the interests of the pension fund. However, M's donation and hospitality may influence J's decision-making, creating a conflict of interest and violating the provisions of the CFA ethical guidelines regarding the avoidance of conflicts of interest. Moving on to the 14th example, M seeks to gain the approval and favor of F and takes the following actions. 1. Hospitality. M discovers some preferences of F and, in an attempt to cater to F's likes, treats F at a well-known local pub. These actions raise the following issue. 1. Sucking up to superiors. M's actions are aimed at winning F's favor and approval by catering to F's preferences. This kind of brown-nosing behavior can potentially affect M's independence and objectivity, violating the principle of professional conduct in the CFA ethical guidelines. In the 15th example, Scott, an investment performance analyst at a company, notices that a fund manager has covertly moved underperforming accounts to another portfolio to make the original portfolio appear better. Clearly, this practice is against the rules. Scott realizes that a significant amount of money is entrusted to this fund manager by the company. He finds himself in a dilemma. The company values the fund manager, but he has discovered the fund manager's misconduct. As an analyst committed to independence and objectivity, how should Scott handle this situation? He should disclose the facts and present them truthfully in his performance analysis report, without any reservations. This example is not too difficult, as long as the importance of independence and objectivity is understood. In the 16th example, we introduce an individual named S, who is the head of investment performance analysis at their company. In the last quarter of the previous year, S discovers that one of the company's investment accounts has performed poorly, resulting in significant client redemptions of fund shares. This situation is unfavorable for the fund company. In this scenario, S faces pressure from their superiors and the sales manager who request S to remove the underperforming account from the company's performance composite, making it look better when disclosing the composite's performance. In this situation, we need to consider whether to succumb to internal pressure from the company. The answer to this question is straightforward. Internal pressure from the company should not overpower you, and you should not yield to it. Yielding to the company's internal pressure clearly violates the principles of independence and objectivity. Therefore, this case emphasizes the importance of independence and objectivity and reminds us to uphold our principles and not be swayed when facing pressure. These guidelines are crucial, and I hope you all can digest these 16 examples, because once you understand the principles of independence and objectivity and can comprehend these examples, there won't be much difficulty. See you in the next class.